Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. We discuss emotional, psychological, and coaching related topics in a discernible way that's easy to understand, or at least I hope. If there's a topic you'd like to see covered, please feel free to make a request below. Also, please like, subscribe, and comment below if there's a way that we can be of further assistance to you. And we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Please help with that by spreading the word. Anyway, I did one of these before, but I'm going to do another one. You'll see several topics come up quite a bit on the channel because they're topics that continually come up with my clients, and I'm trying to give as diverse a sample of what it's like to be a client of mine when I can, where I can. And so, just for the fun of it, we're going to do 10 signs you know you've been put in the friend zone. And so, friend zoning is uncomfortable, right? Like nearly everyone's been there. I can't say everyone's been there because some people get lucky and they've never been placed there. But the first is the person only desires to have text-related conversations with you. So text is impersonal, and I know that especially for the millennial generation that's grown up in a world of technology where text messaging is like breathing, it's difficult to fathom a time when you actually had to be deliberate and pick up a phone and have a verbal conversation and set aside time for it. But that was the way it was until like the last 20, 25 years. And the challenge with that is ultimately when a person takes 3 seconds to text you, number one, they're not giving a lot of thought to what they're saying, even if you think they are. They're responding knee jerk reaction wise. And similarly, they don't need to make you a priority to text you, right? Like, how many times have you been in the restroom and texting, or you're eating dinner and texting, or you're watching TV and mindlessly texting somebody, or you're sitting on the bus hating your job and texting somebody. You can text from anywhere, so there's no deliberation, which means texting does not necessarily guarantee an emotional closeness. And a lot of people mistake the frequency of communication for a depth of connection, and that's not always the case. The next is changing of focus. So people instinctively know when they're being flirted with, right? Like, I think at some level we all kind of know, hey, that person's looking at me a little too long, or hey, they held me too long in that hug, or whatever the case is. And when those awkward moments happen, if they value you as a friend and they don't want to lose the friendship, but they're not going to take it any further, they will divert the focus back to something that you both have in common. They will not address the issue because addressing it's awkward. Your feelings are going to get hurt, and potentially they could lose a friendship, so they don't want to have that conversation. So they're going to, hey, did you see the game last night? Hey, did you hear what Amy had to say about XYZ? Hey, did you find out whether you can get the puppy next week or not? They're going to do anything they can to have a conversation that's away from the awkwardness that the flirting creates. And if that happens once, okay. If it happens twice, gee, that's curious. If it's happening 3, 4, 5 times, they're friend zoning you without having a conversation and just hoping you catch up with the idea and the thought. Now, a really obvious one is they're trying to fix you up or trying to get you to fix them up. So if they're talking to you about, hey, your coworker's really cute, or hey, tell me about your sister. I actually had this about 2 months ago. This poor young lady, she's 18, 19 years old, and she's really been into this guy for a couple of years, and he starts spending more time with her only to find out that, in fact, he had grown fond of her sister and was using their friendship as a way to get close to the sister. And so, obviously, you can imagine that didn't end very well, and there were other signs along the way, but if they're offering to fix you up or if they're asking you to fix them up, yeah, that's a pretty good sign you've been friend zoned for at least for the foreseeable future. Now, are there friend zoning situations where several years later things come back around and it works out? Sure, but it's not advisable to sit and wait for several years, especially if it never happens and then you've wasted decades of your life. It's just not really a worthwhile investment. And so the next is they vent to you about their bad relationship issues. So, if they're talking to you about this horrible date they had, or they're talking to you about a physical encounter they had that was just awful, they've put you in the friend zone because when you're trying to impress somebody, you don't want to appear weak or vulnerable. And so if they're always seeming vulnerable, especially about their dating life, yeah, you're not um, you're not in that role of potential partner in their mind. You've been friend zoned, and they figure you've already got the memo. The second thing is boundaries. So, if you're always trying to hug them and physically be close to them, and they're sidestepping you, or if they're always willing to talk to you for 10 minutes but nothing more, like you notice the conversations are kept short on purpose, or they will always divert the conversation away from things that would get you to spend time together. Um, these are signs that they're putting up boundaries, that they're willing to entertain a friendship, but they don't want to get any closer because they believe getting closer to you on an emotional level will lead you on. And they know that that's a possibility that they don't want to cross. And so boundaries are a big thing. If there's no hints given that they have interest, people will drop hints. An extra long stare, laughing uproariously at a joke that really wasn't that funny. There's millions of ways that people give hints. Body language is another one, and I've done some great audios on body language of flirtation. But if a person is, not willing to do any of that, then there's a pretty good chance they're not interested in you that way. And then the last three are really, really simple, so they won't take much time to go through. But if the time you spend with them is always in a group setting, and let's put the parameter that you're not a teenager who's being forced into that environment because your parents will only let you group date or group hang out, then yeah, they're trying to get you to meet other people so you take your focus off of them. And they're trying to do that because they don't want to have the conversation about letting you down. And they figure if you spend enough group time together, you'll find somebody else to hang with, and you might find somebody attractive, and then they don't have to have that awkward conversation. If there's no movement towards, in general, moving the relationship forward, then that's a really good indicator. Like, things move, things progress naturally, even in the most awkward of social situations. And if you've gone several weeks or several months without any progress towards believing that they might have interest in you, the chances are towards they don't. Because again, signs will be there. If there are signs to be self-evident, they will reveal themselves. And the last one is your gut. Like for example, if you had enough intuition to land on this audio, then chances are, if you're dealing with this issue, you already know on some intuitive level that they are not looking at you the way you want to be seen, and that's uncomfortable, and you don't want to deal with that long term. So at the end of the day, it's a sign, right? It's a sign that in fact they're not as interested as you want them to be, and it's time to move forward. So those are the topics that I would really touch on in that way. Until next time, I encourage you, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.